Okay, so we're going to get started with the Wakanda quarterly update for October 2013 in about a minute here. I am going to be recording, so we'll have it posted and available shortly after this as well. Okay, so we're ready to go. I've got Ricardo Mello on the line here as well. Ricardo, do you want to say hello?
Hello, everybody.
And just so I can be sure that everyone's hearing me fine, can someone just give me a message in the chat and let me know we're good to go ahead? We're going to keep, as usual, going to keep the quarterly update very casual. It's meant to update you on the latest and greatest with the Wakanda platform. I'm going to start out for about 15 or so minutes, and then Ricardo will have a good amount of information surrounding custom widgets, and then we'll be taking live question and answers. So let's get right into it. I will. So I don't want to ignore, we had a bit of feedback from our last webinar. One was Ricardo needed to buy a headset. So he's done that. So I appreciate that, Ricardo. I can hear you much better today.
Thank
And
you.
the other feedback we got was that we had a few new users joining in for the webinar for the first time, and they would have appreciated a quick overview of what Wakanda is all about for the brand new people. So I'm going to do that for just a 5-minute overview, kind of remind people what we're all about and what the product is meant to service as far as market segment and where we fit best. So Wakanda is essentially a full JavaScript stack. We've got everything from the data store. It's an relational object data store. It uses a NoSQL syntax, and I don't know how to get rid of that side thing. We have integrated into the server side as well as a very powerful web server that creates a REST interface to your data automatically. Also can serve up static assets and do a lot of different functions that you would expect out of an industrial grade web server. Between the client and the server, we have a data transport layer, for lack of a better term. Essentially, what it does is it makes it very easy for you to get your data from the server side to the client side and into either a browser or mobile UI. And then on the front end, which we'll be covering some today, is we have a rapidly developing client front end for both mobile and browser. And that's really a big focus of what we're doing over the next 6 months and going forward. So what are the key advantages of the Wakanda platform? To me, these are the top four, is you can go from prototype to production with one platform. So the Wakanda server is a great performing server, can handle a lot of load, but you don't sacrifice usability from the developer's vantage point for that performance. You're able to deploy to desktop, mobile, and even to web services very easily from one technology stack. You can have go to market extremely quickly, which is a great advantage, in particular if you're filling a niche market. And then we have security permissions, and a lot of the other hard topics are taken care of. We've built security and permissions right into the data model, and it gives you a great security mechanism to keep your data safe. So I'm going to start with a few demos. I'm going to do a quick overview of Wakanda, and then I'm going to go through a library that Alexandre Morgot has written using a service called Twilio. So let me just get started here. I'll switch to, so I've got Wakanda Studio open. By the way, I should mention as well that we just released Wakanda 6 to the production channel. So that's what I'll be using in the presentation today. And I'm going to do a quick overview for new people. So I'm going to create a new solution. I'm just going to create it to the desktop. Now we do have Git integration built into Studio. I'm not going to use it for this demonstration. And what we do when we create a solution is we automatically included a project. So a solution can contain many projects. So I'm going to start with, show you real quickly, our built-in directory. There's many ways to handle user authentication. This is the built-in mechanism, which is probably the best way for people just getting started. But it's based on the concept of users and groups. So I could make two groups here, maybe one called registered user and maybe another one called employee, which would be an actual company employee. And we can go to users, create a new user, and perhaps my login name's Greg, and I'll just put in a password. And what you can do is you can actually assign them to the group right here. And it gives you a full mechanism for managing your different groups. Okay, so that's the directory. That's solution based. From there, what I would do is probably show you where most people start, which is with the data model. And I'll just make a really simplistic model here. Let's do a yard sale tracking system. So we'll create a data store class called yard sale. I'll give the plural name yard sales. Let's add a couple of attributes here. So when you add an attribute, let's do the date of the sale. You can see that all of your data types are here. There's a good variety. We'll make this a date, and then I'll put in a description, which is a string, and that should be good. Maybe we'll do one other type of attribute, which is a headline. And the headline is going to be a combination of the sale date and the description, but it's going to be a string. And here's a neat little attribute you can do. It's called a calculated attribute. So I'll switch over here, and I'll make this actually a JavaScript calculated attribute. So I can choose in the onGet, onSet, query, and sort to execute code. So when a browser or a client requests this particular attribute, the headline, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually return this dot description plus on. So it will say the description that we put in, and then plus this dot sale date. And what this is going to do is each time it's going to calculate this value based on the data of this entity and return it to the requesting client. So I'll save that. Back in the model, you can also, this is, like I said, a relational object data store. So we could have maybe an item data store class, and this would be the items that are for sale at each yard sale. And I can put in here maybe a price, which would be a number. We could put in a description for the item, which would be a string. And then we can just easily create a one-to-many relationship, and we can make a yard sale attribute. And this would be actually of type yard sale. And just like that, we've created a one-to-many. There's a lot of interesting things you can do with relationships in the product in general, and it gives you a lot of flexibility with your data. Likewise, as I mentioned, a lot of your security and permissions are baked into the product. So if I click on a data store class, you can see that I have a scope. So it's either publicly available, which is through the browser or clients, or it's public on server, which means that it's securely only accessible on the server side. You can also create permission levels on each data store class based on those groups that we defined earlier. And this also goes down to the attribute level. So you can specify the scope of an attribute as well as assign permissions at the attribute level. For the data store, one of the things we do is we allow you to put code into different events. So for a data store class, we have a selection of events here where you can have code execute when those events happen. Likewise, they change up a little bit for attributes. You can also create server-side methods in JavaScript here, which we're not going to demonstrate, or I'm not going to demonstrate right now, but basically it gives you an opportunity to add code and execute those either only server-side or client-side. So that's the server side very quickly. Of course, there's a lot more to it, and I'd encourage you to dig in to the documentation or different training materials to learn more. but I'll give you a quick overview of the client side as well. And this is what I mean is when I say that you can go from prototype to production very quickly, is that was building a basic data model, which took no time at all. And if I wanted to build an interface, we have our model here. I should mention this as well. I'm working in Wacondah Studio, which is the main tool that can be used. It's free to use, but I can just drag from the model onto my interface and create a grid. And sorry, I just had a phone call there. So now we've got a grid built just like that. And when I said the center layer between the server and the client, what I was talking about was a data source, and that's what we term them as. So it's automatically created a data source for us, and just like that, we can start the server, and Wacondah will run locally on my machine here. And what I'll do is I'll just go to my local host on port 8081, which is where the server's running. And you can see right there that I can now create a new yard sale with a description, and automatically I'll get the calculated attribute will evaluate. So just like that, that is saved to the data store. We've got communication and read, update, delete, and modify operations already going. If we go back to Studio, we can also now grab this yard sale data source and make a form instead of a grid. I'm just going to get rid of two of them here. Create, and sorry, just resize this a bit. And you'll see what I can do now is I can actually go into make a relation attribute data source from the yard sale, and we're going to grab the items of that yard sale. And we can just pull that on as a grid, create, and what you'll see now is that we've got all of our related items will automatically show up in here. So if I save that, go back to the browser, refresh, you can see it's all updated. I'll make a new yard sale with a different description. And so you can see that there's a lot of data binding happening on the client side automatically. You can see that the form's updating as I switch here. I can add a new item, say a $10 item, and that will automatically get associated. So you can see when I select yard sale 1, it's not in this related list, and if I select yard sale 2, it is. So that's all I wanted to show you with Wacondah. Maybe spark some interest, have you come and check it out more. We're always on the forum, happy to help you get started. One thing that's new that we started here was we actually redesigned a lot of our theming. So we can actually switch now the theme of the application to different looks and feels depending on what your preference is. So we're actually really, you can see here on the left-hand side, there's a folder here where you can actually make custom themes. So if I start with this lilac theme, I can duplicate it. I can give it a name. And we're going to get my theme here. And what I can then do, I recommend you start from duplicating because you're going to have a lot of, you're going to see a lot of code in this CSS file. But basically, it's all categorized, all documented, and this allows you to completely customize the CSS from the theme. So that's a way that you can make custom themes. We also have a mechanism where it wasn't up yesterday, and it's still not up. So the website's down, but we have a portal for sharing themes. So we're really interested. I know we have a lot of skilled designers out there. We'd love to see your themes if you want to share them back with the community. We'd really appreciate that, and I know other users would as well. So that's the demo for Wacondah just in general. And I'm going to close that solution. So the next thing I wanted to show you was something that Alexandre from France made. And I'm not sure if you've actually heard of the service called Twilio. Um, Essentially, it's a cloud service that allows you to interact with telephones and text message very easily. And Alexandre's done a great job here of giving us a library to interact with a ton of the Twilio services. So it's a common JS module. And you can see here all of the functionality that he has implemented, everything from updating your account to creating incoming numbers, routing calls, routing SMS, creating SMS, receiving SMS. So there's a lot of interesting things you can do with this service. I've done a little bit of experimentation. So I'll show you, this was something that I presented at JS Everywhere in San Francisco recently, is basically a way to create a temporary phone number. Now it's half baked at this point, but I wanted to show you the essence of it. I guess what I've got here, this is the best I could do. It's, sorry, there's my dad text messaging me. So let me just refresh this. So this is just mirroring my telephone on the machine here. So what you're going to see is when I get a text message, it's going to show up in here. So I couldn't give you a live view of the phone. So what I'm going to do, here's a good example where you might use Twilio, is two-factor authentication. So right here, I'm going to create a new number, and the first thing I want to do is I want to confirm that that's actually the web browser user's number. So I'll create a new number. I'm just going to put in my cell phone number. So this is real and live. If you want to call me, wait until I'm done the webinar, please. But anyhow, let's send an SMS message to my phone with a confirmation code. So you can see the message has been sent. Just take a minute to arrive. I hear it on my phone, so this should update. There we go. So I've got an SMS sent from Wacondah server, and there's my confirmation code. So now I can go in and I can do the confirmation code, and my database is going to check against the record that it created. It says OK, and now I've got a verified number. So you can do, like I'm showing here, the idea of forwarding SMS, forwarding voice, and I'll show you how this works briefly. I'm going to post this as an example as well once I've got a little more cleaned up. But here's Twilio, one section of the back end. There's a ton of tools for developers here as far as testing and that type of thing. Here's my live number, that's Twilio. And all you do is when it receives a voice call, is you specify a URL to route that information to, and likewise for SMS. So I've set up two routes here. In Wacondah Studio, I'll open that project. And the first thing I would show you is in the Bootstrap, I created some HTTP request handlers. So you can see here the SMS URL is routed to script / process incoming, and then the incoming SMS message. And where you go for that is to the scripts and into this process incoming. So you can see here, this script will be fired when an incoming SMS happens. So it's really quite simple. If I go to my app page, and let's just look at that send confirmation button that I showed you. If we go to events, on click, you can see what I'm doing here is I'm actually calling a server-side method called send confirmation. And so the first place it goes is, sorry, I'm going to bring up that actual script. So if I go to model.js, there it is there. So what I'm doing is I'm initializing Twilio, which I've scrubbed. All it does is it requires the Twilio module, and then it creates, it sets up your access tokens. Now I've scrubbed them out here because I don't want you to have access to my Twilio account, but all you need to do is just add in your credentials here, and this will work out of the box. So I'm initializing the Twilio service. It's searching for the real number, and basically just checks, verifies that the confirmation code is correct, and sends the application back information indicating that. So if it returns true, it means that it was confirmed. Otherwise, I would return an error. So the key elements here is in your Bootstrap, you want to set your route for your incoming route, and then you can interact with Twilio from there. So that is my Twilio demonstration, and what I would suggest you do, it's a really interesting project. We're definitely interested in other people also contributing any sort of libraries. I know I've got one underway that I'm going to be contributing to upload files to Rackspace Cloud Files. And all of these types of things help create a nice ecosystem for us. So Ricardo, I'm going to unmute you now. I'm going to give you the reins of the presentation, and you can continue from here. Are you there, Ricardo?
All right, yeah.
Are you ready to go?
I am ready to go. Thank you,
Okay.
Greg, for the explanation. Great.
Yeah, no problem.
Great
So
example.
I'm going to switch the screen over to you. You should get a prompt.
Okay, I'm waiting for that.
Let me know if you haven't seen it.
No, so far not yet. Do I have to click anywhere?
Okay.
Show my screen. I got it.
Okay, you have it now. Okay, so I'm going to mute myself, and then Ricardo, when we're about 10 minutes out from the end, we'll open it up for
10 minutes out
questions.
from the end. I'll try to do quick.
Yeah, so just
Quick
let me know when you're ready.
overview.
Okay.
All right, I am ready. Let's do it. So, can you see my screen? Greg, can you see my screen?
Sorry,
Hello?
I muted myself. Yes, I can. We're ready to go. Looks good.
Oh, okay. All right, let's go. I am about to show you guys the new widgets. At this point, we are inviting the community to start to play with. I'm doing a series of threads in our forum, and I strongly recommend you to go there and start to play around with widgets. Basically, I'm going to do a quick 3 parts overview. The first one, where I'm going to just pass through the installation, what you need to do to create a widget or to install a widget. The second part, we're going to see in action some widgets. And the third one, we're going to go and dig a little bit into the code, or at least show some pieces of code, so you're going to have a general idea of what we're building here. So how do you create widgets? You have basically 2 ways of doing a widget. If you, I have already my Wacondah open here. And as you can see, I have a webinar project. And now in main, just to add to my point, we are giving the chance to developers to play with the widgets in the development channel. So if you go to our website and you look for the development channel, you can grab the Wacondah there, and from that you are going to start to see the menus that I'm showing you right now. So you have this menu called widgets, and at the moment I already have. I'm going to open to show you guys. I already have 5 widgets here, but let's say that I want to create one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just go new. I'm going to create a custom widget. I'm going to be prompted to give a name. I'm going to say my webinar widget, and I'm going to create. And as you can see, my webinar widget pops in my screen. If I open, um, we automated the process, so everything that you need to start to code is already there. So, and the basic structure is I have my CS files, a folder for my CS files. I have a folder for my icons. I can create as well as many folders I want. For example, suppose that you need a library, and you can create a folder called library, and then put your library there. And you have those four files here. readme.md is very well known, so it's just for you to describe your widget. Designer.js is the file that is going to show the widget in the studio. So it's just for the studio. When you run at runtime, I don't even bring this file. So it's just for you to customize areas like how your widget's going to be displayed and your properties, events, methods, and the panel that's on the right side. So your package.json, well, I'm going to go to the package.json at the end. The widget.js is where you're going to code your widgets, really what it's going to do it. I'm actually going to open just to show you how minimal it is. You just need that. And we put some extra code here just for you to, if you need to do something, you already have your code there. But actually, the widget is ready to be used right now without any of this code here. It's the same thing for the widget.js. You have just what you need to start your widget. Okay. So the package.json is, as you all know from Wacondah 6, we are having a new system that loads just the libraries that we need. And so the package.json is going to tell what are the files that I use. So in this case, I'm going to use the new version of our widget library, and I'm going to add the widget.js and the widget.css. And why is my designer here if I just told you that we don't load at runtime? Yes, is here because the studio may need, and then for that you do this little phrase here. So I know that this file I'm going to use just at the studio. I can do the same thing for runtime. I can say a file is just runtime only. Okay, so like that I can, for example, if I have imported a library that is too big for the studio to handle, or there is some incompatibilities with the studio side, I can just ask load this library at runtime. Okay, so with this structure, I already have a widget ready for me to use, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to open a page. I already have a page here. Yeah, I think I can use this one. Let's see. I have in this page, what do I have? I have already a grid, okay, with some I connect a database with. Okay. If I go here to my widget sections, I'm going to start to notice that I have now a custom widgets section. And in that section, I have all the widgets that I have usually available here. If I have some problems in this code here, my widget is going to be left out. So I just create my webinar widget. I'm going to grab it and then put it here. At the moment, it's just a div, a big div that does nothing. But I can already, using the studio, start to customize. I can put, for example, um, change the back color, okay, and I can resize my widget. So that's the first way of how to create a widget. My widget is ready. If I actually run the page, I should see my widget there. Okay, that's the first way to do it. We recommend that you follow this process. But you may be already very skilled in the art of building widgets, and you were doing that all by yourself and creating the package all by yourself. Or you can just receive some widgets from someone. So I'm going to close all this so we keep clean, the environment clean here. Even this one I don't need anymore. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that I'm going to go to my area. I'm going to go and grab some. I'm going to go to my desktop, grab some files. I have here a Wakanda, a widgets, and I have all those widgets here. So what I can do is just grab like this four widgets here. I'm going to copy those 5 items. And then the widgets, they have a specific directory to be used in Wakanda. So if you go to your documents, you're going to have a folder called Wakanda. And that folder Wakanda, you have widgets. And if I open widget, you're going to see that all the widgets that I have here, oops, I did something weird here. I think I copied one widget inside another widget. Okay, there we go. So all the widgets that I have here in this folder, in the folder Wakanda widgets, are the same that I have here. So right now I'm going to paste all the items that I copied from the other place, and now I have all those widgets. Okay, I'm going to close, and I'm going to close. There we go. My studio is already updated with all the widgets that I just copied. So which means that someone can develop a widget, send to you in a folder or a zip file. You just unzip and you put it there. So it's going to be very easy to share widgets among the community. So you don't need to change any other thing inside the studio or the server. You just drag the folder there and the widget is ready for you. So let's play a little bit. So I finished my first part, which is the installation. So you can create by scratch, or you can just copy a folder inside the right directory, which is your user Wakanda widgets. Let's move to the second part, which is let's see some of those widgets in action. I'm gonna go again. Oh, I already have it here, so let's open the index. Okay, I still have my widget there, though the widget that doesn't do much. But I have, as you see, I have a grid here that I attach it to a data source that's called dashboard, which I have name, URL, and popularity. I'm going to just run this page, and I'm going to insert like 3 lines. Name, Wakanda, URL, www.wakanda.org, popularity 90. Let's insert another field. Let's just say Google at google.com, and let's say 80. And let's say Yahoo at .yahoo.com, and let's say 50. Okay, I have my just recorded some data in my database, and now I'm going to come back here. So I'm going to show you 3 widgets or 4 or 5, see if the time enables us to do that. A simple widget first, which is a hyperlink widget, which is a widget that when I drag and put it here, and I choose a name, and I drop inside the widget and say that that's my text. I choose that. And when I choose the URL, and I drag there, and I say that's my source, and I choose. So I have a new widget in my page that when I run, it just grabs whatever is the name that it shows, and if I click, is now a hyperlink that transform whatever URL that I used into a new page for you. So that's one example. Let's keep going. Let's say now that I want as well something that like a dashboard style. I want something like a gauge. And that gauge I'm going to hook with popularity. Right, so Look at how easy it is once I did my widget to manipulate that. I just drop my data source. It's right here. I just hook it up to dashboard popularity. I have the name. I have the min and maximal value that I customized in my widget. We're going to see the code for that. So you're going to see that's very simple. And then I run. And when I run, I have a widget that reacts as I click in the row. So 90 now, 80, and then 50. So very nice. So I can build some dashboards and associate this widget and give more aliveness to Wakanda. And the interesting part is this. It's going to be a key component for us as a community to go forward. And this moment, the JavaScript language, it's completely dominating the world. And usually you have a DOM node. Someone creates some JavaScript code that does something in a DOM node, and we are trying to explore that. You're going to see that this library here that I use to do the gauge. I pick it up from the internet, and someone just did that. We used some nice libraries. I just add that to my package and associated that to a DOM node and did some 2 or 3 things to just connect that with the data source. So I have the power of Wakanda straight to my widget, and then I run. And there is tons of libraries that we can start to harvest outside. Let's do another one. Let's do a QR code because it's a very practical one as well. That's too big. Oops, sorry. That's too big. Let me do a little smaller. QR code. There we go. In my QR code, I'm going to put my URL in my QR code. Oops, no. It's not that. I'm doing some. I'm going to put, yeah, there. It's fine. I'm going to do what URL I said? URL. So my QR code is going to be hooked to the URL. I save, I execute. And now I have in one page three widgets, 4 actually, completely new widgets. That one, it gives me the hyperlink. Another one gives me the popularity in a gauge form. And this one gives me the QR code. So if I change the line, now is google.com, now is Yahoo. And you can imagine that you can create a computed field or attribute in your database that does something very elaborate, like combines many strings, and then you just hook with your QR code, and then customers can just click in their phones and grab that information. Okay. I can go on and on. Greg, how is my time on? Because I have the audio recorder that I can show as well. I have other widgets, or we can dig a little bit into the code so people can check it out. How is my time, Greg?
I think you're good for another 10 minutes, probably 15. So whatever you feel you want to spend your time on, I think you can
Perfect,
demo.
perfect. All right. So I'm going to show another one. I'm going to just close this one. This one is already extremely busy here. Let's just create a new. Um, let's create a new page. Let's say that that's going to be my recorder. I'm going to create. Okay, for the recorder, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add as well a grid. I'm going to add a grid. And this, I'm going to put this audio data source, which basically it has a name and a content. Okay, there's an ID. I'm gonna not put the ID visually on it. We have just a name for a song, for an audio, and actually the content. I could even take it out the content because it's not really visually interesting, but I'll leave it like that. I'm gonna save. I'm gonna run. Okay, nothing major. So I will now hook my audio recorder. Let's see if that's gonna go good in this computer. Audio recorder. I put my audio recorder here, which is a widget that I created that can, as you can see already, stop, play, and capture some sounds. Okay, when I click on this widget here, I'm gonna see that in the right panel here, I have events. When I coded this widget, I put a bunch of events, okay? One of the events is on stop recording, right? What I can do is just add on this on stop recording a little code. Let's say sources.audio.save. Okay, and I think that's going to be enough, I think, to make it work. So when I run this code, as you can see, I have my recording video here, and I can just try to record. Let's see what's going to happen. I didn't try this one. Usually I should be prompted for the audio. It's Firefox. Wait a second. Let me see if I can run this in maybe Chrome or Safari. I'm gonna just try a quick test here. As I mentioned, I just added this all my environment in my computer in my home because today we have problems in France with the internet connection. Let's try to see if Safari is going to ask for recording. No, Navigator not supported. I think I have a Navigator problem of support that. I'm sorry, it's not going to work. But you have this. I'm going to release this example in the forum, so you can play with.
Yep, and this was also recorded at
very well. Actually, I did this.
Yeah, you did at JS Everywhere, so I can testify that this worked really well. It's unfortunate you had to switch machines just before the presentation.
Yeah, no problem. I think people can already start to understand the power of this new architecture. Let's now touch the third part, which is a little bit the examples. Go a little bit into the code and talk a little bit about it. So index, I'm going to go back to that page that we were. Okay, so I'm going to show you how interesting is the gauge, for example. I'm going to open. As you can see, I have pretty much the same structure I had for the custom widget created by hand. I have a CSS, I have icons. This one, the person that created this library also put some images on their implementation. So I just imported the image here. I use all the libs. I actually using a very well-known library called D3. If you guys haven't seen this library yet, I strongly recommend. There's plenty of things that you can do with the D3. And someone created a gauge from that library. So I have two libraries, different libraries here. So I went to this person GitHub. I got their code, and I created in my package point.json. I just inserted this two right here. I just added to my package those two libraries. I give the correct ID or path, and I say that is in the widgets custom. Download this. I'm going to show you now the code itself, the widget.js. You're going to see that's not very big, especially because all this code here, actually, all this code that I'm showing to you guys, it's actually the person that wrote this library exposed that code as the code that he needs to run his widget. And basically, I copy that code here on my init function. And with this 2 lines here, I bind it to my data source. So I define it something called value that is attached to the gauge. Sorry, I'm talking in France. That just redraws the gauge with the value, and I make that value bindable. That's all I had to do to insert this widget in my Wakanda page. So from that on, I could just drag out a data source attribute and make it bindable, and it's going to redraw. Of course, I can make it even better. I can test if my value is a string or is a number, and make sure that this is going to work in any circumstances. So there's still some work to do, and that's how nice is the community for us at this moment, because you can just grab this code, customize as you want, and create an even better gauge. And you can just gauge, and you can just send to someone, or even start your own business selling widgets for Wakanda. I'm going to show you the QR. It's going to be pretty much the same. I have CSS, icons, and here I put all the libraries related to the QR code. And the QR code use all that. Okay, I basically copy what this person gives to me in their web page. And then I have in my widget.js pretty much the same thing. An init that I construct my widget. And then, oops, I have some few other functions here just to repaint, to get the content, to set the content. And here is another way to add a data source, a bindable data source. You just define a property and you define a setter. So I know that when I set this content here, this variable, I'm going to execute set content, and that's going to redraw, repaint my QR with the new value. That's all I had to do to create a widget that is very useful. It can be used for a lot of people in that way. And as this one, I'm going to go to our a little simpler. Do I have basic container? This is very basic, but I'll show you as well. This widget, it's a container. That's all my code that I need to create a container. So this widget here can hold other widgets. So I can just drag inside my Wakanda page and start to put other widgets inside. And that's all I needed. I defined my widget as a widget. I create my widget in this way. I actually inherit from this library, the WAF-core widget. Then after that, I can just say my widget inherited from a container, and that's all. That's all I need to create a container. All right, now we saw it, the widget.js, and I am going to have a lot of examples for you on the forum. So keep watching the forum, because we're going to update a lot of those widgets in the next few days. We're going to have 15 widgets by next week. So we already have 6 or 7. They are simple. They are starting to, they are meant to introduce you, but all these widgets that I'm showing here to you, they are going to be available there. So I strongly recommend you to look the widgets. Let me just show you a final one, because it's going to be interesting to show you how it works. For example, this one is called Simple Spreadsheet. The interesting part is this this widget. I don't have an example there. No, wait a second. I'm going to find a better example, because one that we used. Wait a second. Let me just click here. Gauge No, it doesn't have events. It doesn't have events. It has events. Okay. All right. So as you can see it, this widget here, the hyperlink, it defined some events on the right panel. That is the way that widgets are going to communicate with the outside. We're going to define events that can be added to the widget and to the panel. And you can, after that, communicate with the outside world, because I can just click on this event and define a code that's going to be written here. I can add that's going to touch another widget. It needs to update a third widget. It needs to send a message through the page to a console. I can do anything based on events to communicate with the outside world. How do I do an event? How do I code that? I'm going to show you the hyperlink and the designer.js. There we go. In the designer.js, if I want an event to be communicated, I just create my event. I can add as many events as I want. And as soon as I do that, they're going to be showing up on my right panel, and I can customize what's going to happen. That's the designer side. I also have the widget side, which is when I touch the value, I'm going to fire an event. For example, the event change. And with the fire, I communicate to the external world what my widget wants to talk. I can say, listen, when you do some action, I want you to fire an event. And that event can be caught by the code that we saw it, sorry, here. Okay. So Greg, that's pretty much all for me right now. I would love to have some questions or
Yeah.
something that we
No, we
can
got a
grab.
lot
There's
of.
a lot of things in, and I strongly recommend the forum right now, because I'm doing a very step-by-step process, so you can start to play with this those concepts.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to just the title screen here. So and then we'll take some questions. So if you have any questions, absolutely, please pass them on through the question. There's a question panel in the. Sorry, I'm just getting my screen going here. There's a question area in the software, in the GoToWebinar software. I'm going to cover a few things, but I'll tell you, Ricardo, there's a ton of excitement. So I really appreciate the information you've brought. There's been a lot of people waiting for this. So let me cover a couple of things. The architecture that Ricardo has demonstrated here is the very same architecture that we'll be building our widgets from. So I had one person who commented, we'd prefer a new combo box over building our own custom widgets. Well, it's sort of like the cart before the horse. This architecture is what we're using, and we're really giving you full capability to be able to use it yourself. And from here is where we'll go forward. Um, the other thing that we are definitely looking at, it's going to be a bit of a job, is to bring a community type of aspect around these widgets. We're really in active discussion how we're going to enable sharing, uh, mutual contribution, and really bringing this. The ecosystem is extremely important to us. Where we are not going to ignore that by any means. We're totally encouraging full participation by the community in bringing these. So, what you've seen here is actually a combination of two things. Ricardo showed you some widgets, some of his examples are built from scratch, and others are actually repurposing other widgets from the wider JavaScript community. So don't think that you need to be from pixel up to finished widget. there may be libraries out there that are quite easily repurposed into Wakanda native widgets that can be used in Studio. So then the other thing, Ricardo, I think I'll get you to cover is what we're doing as far as release. Obviously, we just released Wacondah 6 today. People are curious when this functionality shows up, and maybe you can share a little bit on the roadmap.
All right. Yeah, we just released Wakanda 6 at the very today, as you said. We tried to introduce all this into Wakanda 6, but we decided to wait a little bit more and start to share with the community that development before we go ahead and release to the public. I think was the right approach, and we're going to try to bring that as soon as we can to our product. The key issue or the key component at this moment is we need to share a little bit with the community and see if they are going to adopt that type of development. If the community comes to us at this point and say, that's what we are waiting for, is that type of simplicity and that type of power, we're going to go full speed ahead and start to develop. We already started our own widgets. We have at this point about 6 or 7 that are almost finished. But we still are doing still need more testing for us to deliver, because the switch from an old architecture to a new, we are trying to make as smooth as possible, because we don't have the full amount of widgets ready at this moment. So we need to introduce them in a way that the community is going to participate, and we're going to beta test this to the point that that's going to be a huge success. We're doing a lot of effort to do this right, and to have not just our widgets in the same platform, but open up for 100 widgets in a in a near future. And, on top of that, what we are delivering right now in Wakanda 6 is very important, because the widgets are nothing if you don't just load the libraries that you need. That's why it's so important Wakanda 6 with what we call WD2, which is our dynamic delivery right now. That you are just getting the libraries that you need, and that's very important, because then I can explode the number of widgets and we are fine. If tomorrow we have 150 widgets, we're good.
Okay. I've got some more questions here. So real quick one, and maybe it's a suggestion more than anything. When you talk about those number of widgets, I imagine an enhancement to Studio at some point will be maybe being able to organize those custom widgets into folders or groups.
It's possible already. It's possible already. We just had one of the the forum members, one of the members of the community, just did his own widget, and he put under his own tab. He
Oh,
puts under his own widgets.
so he
You
posted
can
that in the
try that.
forum and people can get answers from there?
I'm not sure if he posted in the forum, but he posted in the page that
Okay.
we have some few widgets that I can send that through the forum. I strongly, in the page that we are doing through the forum right now, we're trying to concentrate the whole effort in one page in the forum, and I'm going to do my effort to put that there and update. I have to contact the user to see if he's okay to
Okay.
show his widget, but I
Sure.
think he will be fine.
Yep. Okay, so let's keep going here. What's the status of the documentation? Is it fairly complete at this point, or is there still more work to be done as far as
It's
building your own
still
widget?
There is still more work to be done, because we are doing as well a long. We are documenting the code as well a lot, so we're going to have both JS docs and our own documentation to the widgets, and it's a lot. It's a lot of information that we're going to start to introduce, and is going to grow. And documentation is one of the strongest point in Wakanda. We have a lot of documents, a lot of information, It's a team dedicated to do that. So yeah, it's going to grow and it's going to be. At this point, I recommend to go through the forum where I'm trying to, in a kind of a personal effort, to invite some members of the community to start to develop that and to give me feedback. And then the documentation will be ready when we release.
Okay. So just to be clear, what you showed today was development branch, Wakanda Studio. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Yes. So this, um, and again, I was reading questions, so you may have covered this already, but the custom widget functionality that you've seen here is not in the Wakanda 6 release that we released today. This is in an upcoming version.
Yeah.
So let's
Yeah, we
see
need
here.
the point right now is beta test, and so Wakanda 6 is production ready. So we need to do that on the side, and as soon as we think that is good to go, no bugs around, and the foundation is solid, it's going to be in the next release.
Okay. So I've got a question here. Can you discuss behaviors a bit?
Behaviors, yes, I can discuss behaviors. In fact, behaviors are something that we started with very strongly, thinking that every widget would inherit some behaviors. And we are coming to a point that the widget is inheriting pretty much all the behaviors that we have written so far. But behaviors is it's nothing more than a class that gives to the widget some methods available right out of the box. Let's say that, for example, we have a behavior called observable. Observable is something that we use when we want to connect to the database. So it's something that's observing what's going on in terms of data. So that when a widget is inherited from that behavior, all the methods are going to be available ready to right out of the box to the widget. So he can fire an event, he can subscribe to an event, he can listen to events. So there's a bunch of functionality that comes with the behavior. So far, all the behaviors that we have written, they are so to the core of the widgets that pretty much all the widget at the beginning is inheriting from all those behaviors. But we plan to extend that to functionality that are going to impact just a few widgets, but you already have something ready for you. I give an example. For example, let's say that you're going to have a widget that deals with rows and columns, like a grid, like something that is a little different than your regular widget. So we can create a behavior that's going to behave like a data grid or a um, listable, we can call like that, for example, that deals with lists. And then if your widget is intended to work with that type of functionality, you inherit from that behavior. And then all the methods are ready for you. For example, you're probably going to have already a method to create a row, to delete a row, to create a column, to that type of functionality that are going to make you manage your list or your grid in a nicer way.
Okay. So I've got questions here, a few
Was that clear?
questions. Yep.
Right.
Got a few questions about Wakanda Enterprise and when is it expected and issues
That's a great
around
question.
that.
We are releasing Wakanda Enterprise on December 12th.
Okay.
That's the official date right now. It may change a little bit, but it's going to be at the beginning of December.
Okay.
And yeah, it's coming. It's coming very soon.
And did you
It's
cover
coming
when
very soon.
this, when you think this widget functionality might make it into something like a stabilization channel, or do you not have
Um,
those dates yet?
yeah, so we want to bring that as soon as we can, and I need to validate a little bit with the community. Let's play a little bit with and test a little bit more, and we're going to put it's coming. It's not going to take too long because I am so thrilled about this functionality. I have right now 70% of my time dedicated to change the widgets to a better place.
Hmm. So I've got a question here. How do Wakanda widgets relate to W3C standards? Which I can answer. We always pay attention to W3C standards. In fact, Alexandre, the gentleman who created the um, Twilio library, is actually on the, I don't know what you call it, the board, or he's intimately involved with the W3C. So that definitely we always pay attention to. And he's asking, is there a compact packaging format for the web server end? I'm not sure exactly what's meant by that. If you want to send in a clarification, I can try and answer.
Mm,
Um, so then we've just got people really interested in seeing examples, seeing us continue to put out both repurposing of existing widgets and creating new. But
mhm.
yeah, we've got a lot of excitement. So I
Great,
think that
great, great.
probably wraps us up, Ricardo. Do you have anything else you want to add to the discussion before we sign off?
Just that at this point, I'm asking the community again, jumping in and help us to make this the widgets better. I am going to release more and more information through the forum for the next days. I have been already putting some things there. Start from the beginning, start to build up your knowledge it sounds sometimes a little frightening, but it I think is going to change the way this product goes forward.
Okay, sorry, I
So
had
it's
one
jumping
last
in.
one that I skipped over here that I should ask you. Is there a way of specifying that or I guess, how does what you showed today relate to mobile widgets? Is there a flag in there that says this is a mobile only widget? Does this work for mobile widgets, or what's the
And
scenario there?
and and the moment they are they're available to all platforms. Let's say when you create a custom widget right now, it's available for all the platforms. For example, the QR that I just showed to you guys, it's available for the mobile widgets. If I change my page here to, oh yeah, I don't have my
Well, I can,
my page
but
connected,
so
but
so I guess the
if
answer
I
is yes, it
change.
works.
Yes, yes, you can just use, but then it's you to deal with how a widget in the mobile environment needs to react, right? So some widgets can be more tricky than others. We are planning to give you some behaviors that are gonna help you to operate and to manipulate the widget easily.
Okay. Sounds good. I will. I guess we'll finish it there. There's a couple remaining questions. I'll try and answer those on just with the keyboard. But one thing I want to stress is the number one important thing for us to benefit everyone, Wakanda, our user community, is to really start talking to other developers to take a look at the product, to come in and get involved. And one thing we'll be doing in the near term to help facilitate that is we'll be putting together some nicely produced web screencasts that are going to do a run through of Wakanda from A to Z. We'll probably do a 15-minute quick overview, and then I'll probably do a 45-minute more in-depth view. And maybe these would be links that you could send out to colleagues or friends that you know are interested in web applications. So we really encourage you. Let's get the community strong. Let's make things happen. And we really appreciate you tuning in for the webinar today. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.